Thank you very much, Shri. I'll be talking about the phakic IOL or the ICL, whether you use the Indian one or the other one in complex situations. Friends, all that I will wish to say is that you can think outside the box and see as to how the ICL or the phakic IOL can be used in various situations that is there. I would say that today the first ICL that I did was way back in 1999, and things have evolved, and you have developed a lot of new models and lot of confidence in the outcomes of the ICL. So you need to be, I think it's time that you need to be adventurous and see as to how one works on it. Now let us see the story of this patient who had LASIK elsewhere, and you want to take care of this. So these are three situations that I'm going to be talking about. The first situation is the corneal ectasia, the second would be bioptics, and the third would be the residual refractive error after a lens replacement surgery. Now when you know that refractive correction in corneal ectasia and post-keratoplasty, when you're looking at, you see that cross-linking essentially is something to stabilize further the downtrend as regards the ectasia. So this is what you are looking at, that you would first do a corneal cross-linking that you have, and then when you have done the cross-linking and if you establish stability in the cornea, that means that both on topography as also on refraction there is a stability of the cornea, then these are the cases where you can go ahead and use the phakic lenses, because it has the significant advantage that often these cases have a very high refractive error. And if you have to correct that, these patients are really very happy with this. And if you have a lower power, then you could use an intracorneal ring segment that you want to do in these particular cases. So this is the story of a patient, 2012, came with finger counting 1 meter, improving to 618 with pinhole, and this is what you had, that the refraction of the patient had gone down to -13 with -1.5. If you look at the topography, the right eye was also showing some amount of ectasia, but you can see that the left eye is basically, there's a significant amount of ectasia, and you can see this is going up to 57 as regards the topography that is there. So the oculizer also showed post-LASIK ectasia. Hypotonic C3R was done, and 6 weeks post-operatively you could see that there was a change in the refractive, but the vision had improved, which is going on to 612 in this particular case. Now what were the options at this particular time? You could either put a patient on a contact lens, or you could look at doing an intracorneal ring segments that is there, or you could look at doing a DALC. So to stabilize the cornea further and to reduce the amount of irregularity, this is the, I'll just go forward. You can see this is the channel that has been created with the femto. That is going in. You can see the going in on the other side with the clover leaf. This is the segment that has been put in, and you can see this is the completion of the intracorneal ring segment with a suture that will be applied at that particular point. So you can see that this is the final position that you have once you have put in, and then there is a suture that has been applied. Now where do we end up here? What we get in this particular case is that the power of the patient goes down to -7 with -4, and the vision from, you saw first it was 618, then from 18 it went to 12, and 12 now it has gone to 69. So this is where we are, that we are having a consistent improvement in the vision, because the asymmetry has gone down, but the refractive error still remains. So in this particular case, this is the, you can see that the cone was much bigger, it's kind of shrunk. You can see this was 57, it has gone to 52.5. So what do you do in this case? 2014, you go ahead, take this patient, and you do a toric ICL implantation. So you can see here, you have marked for the toric. This is 2014, we didn't have the Callisto system at that particular time. And you can see this is the viscoelastic that is being injected, making the chamber full, and it's just the same surgery. You have to be careful on the alignment, and you have to check the axis of the cylinder both by using all the means. That means that on a pentacam, which is most reliable, or you can also do the keratometry, you do the AR, so you need to work on that, and this is what it is. This is how the patient looks. So essentially LASIK, ectasia, cross-linking, after doing cross-linking, intracorneal ring segment, and then the toric implantable contact lens, and therefore you see that the refraction has gone down to just a 1.5 SIL with the vision at 6.9. So just thinking out of the box, this is actually 4 procedures that you have done: LASIK, cross-linking, intracorneal ring segments, and then going on to toric ICL. Now the second thing is just that this should be done in case you have a very high power. You can do a bioptics. That means that you are combining a refractive procedure both on the cornea and the lens, which is the implantable contact lens. So this is the loading of the lens. There's nothing much. I'll just you can see here that this is the lens which has been loaded. All that I'm trying to show you is that there is a LASIK that has been done, a flap that has been created. So there are 2 ways to go about it. If you don't want suction to be applied after the ICL has been done, you can make a flap, put back the flap, and not do the ablation at that time. Put the ICL. Once the ICL is in position, then you refract the patient at 3 months' time, see the stability of the refraction, and then go ahead and pick up the flap and do a laser procedure. But nowadays I just do a smile because the amount of suction that you are applying is very little. Also, if there is both a cylinder and a spherical power and the cylinder is not too high, then I would correct the ICL to the maximum amount of sphere that is there and not put a toric ICL, because then you don't have the problem of a rotation of an ICL, which may happen in 2 or 3% of the cases. So clear majority of the sphere with the ICL, and with the over refraction PRK, there is no problem. You can do PRK without anything. So just there was some caution that was advised that the suction could cause problems. So better to maybe make a flap and then leave it and then pick it up later. But I, with a smile or a PRK, I don't. So those are my preferred techniques that is there. Now the third thing, thinking outside the box, is that we have these piggyback lenses. So why can't, if you have very high refractive power, the piggyback lenses have their cost going up significantly and they go up to a particular range. But if I have a residual power, now this is the ICL, or the phakic IOL is actually made to be put in the sulcus, right? There is no confusion. There is supposed to be a sulcus placement, and if you are doing a piggyback IOL, you can as well do a piggyback ICL in these patients if the ametropia is very, very high. Now this is a girl that I had operated in 97, and she was at that particular time I think 2 or 3 years of age, and her refractive error kept on increasing, and she came back to me with an error which was like -13 or -14. So in this particular case, I couldn't get the phakic, the piggyback lens. So what you do is that you just clear the adhesions that are there. You can see this, we are just clearing the adhesion. The lens is already placed in the, because there is a posterior capsular axis, it is not a bag placement that is there. It is already a sulcus placement that is there. It was a 3-piece lens. It had extruded out of that, but you can see that the capsular axis is very, very strong. So I recenter the lens, which was slightly decentered. You can see that the lens PI had been done earlier, and you can see after recentering the lens, we will just go ahead and put in an ICL in this particular case, and this was a spherical ICL that we put, and you can see this is the spherical ICL that has been put, and after washing, and you can see that it's a good outcome that you have in this particular case. So very high ametropias, maybe ICL would be the way to go rather than explanting in such a case the IOL and trying to put in. So these are just 3 things thinking out of the box that you could use the implantable Collamer lens, whether the Indian mades or the foreign one, and give good outcomes to the patient. So it is an exciting option for correction of high refractive errors and for cases not amenable to conventional laser vision correction, and you can combine it with other procedures. So that is all that I wish to say. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.
So we'll take